Welcome back to the shop. We're going to do a short video on how to check, change, and adjust the drive belt on the Bobcat Doosan D24 D34 loaders. If for some reason you're operating your loader and you lose all hydraulic functions, which means you have no drive, no lift or tilt, one thing you want to check is your drive belt. If this drive belt breaks, see, it drives the whole hydraulic pump assembly here. And if it breaks, you have no hydraulics and you have no hydraulic charge pressure. So a broken belt and of course a blown hydraulic line where you lose all your hydraulic oil is the main two reasons you would have low hydraulic charge pressure. So first thing you want to do is go around and check the belt. And I figure this is a good time to show you how to change and adjust this belt properly with the engine out of the machine. So normally your battery would be right here and you're kind of working in this position right here. So first thing we want to do is remove the battery and gain access to this portion of the drive belt and tensioner. So let's get a little closer look and we'll talk about how to change and adjust this belt. So first thing you want to do is remove, well, of course after removing the batteries, remove this drive belt cover. Now this drive belt cover is actually damaged where it was rubbing on the flywheel, but this will give you a good idea how to remove it. So first thing we're gonna do is use a 13mm socket and remove this bolt here. Now normally, with a good drive belt, it just slides back. You got two Allen head retainer bolts here, so you'll want to grab the cover and it slides towards you, then off. Now sometimes it's real hard to get it to slide. It's possible you may have to loosen these Allen head bolts just a little bit to get this cover off. Once the cover is off, we're going to loosen our tensioner bracket here. I've seen these bolts, depending on your machine, there's a couple different styles of tensioner, but they all basically work exactly the same. I've seen these be both an 18mm and a 19mm. In this case it's a 19mm. So what we want to do is loosen the actual retainer locking bolt here. Not remove it, just loosen it. And also the pivot one, just a little bit. Now you can see how that moves back and forth there. And then with our ratchet, so there's a square hole here that fits a 1/2" drive ratchet, and it might also be a slot, but it also, the head of a 1/2" drive ratchet will fit in there. So coming in from the side, what we want to do is push down on this, and see, that's going to lift our tensioner wheel up and take pressure off the drive belt. So we're going to get that belt up as high as we can, and then we're going to lock down this bolt to hold the tensioner up. Okay, now I can release the pressure off of my ratchet, get it out of the way. The tensioner is being held up, so now we can remove the drive belt. Okay, now I'm not installing a new drive belt, but this is a procedure that you would use to install a new drive belt. So we'll put the drive belt on. Make sure it's lined up in all your grooves. It's hard to see up past here when you're working on the machine. Now we're going to loosen up our tensioner retainer bolt again. Now this tensioner is spring loaded. There's a lot of pressure coming down on that belt. But what we want to do is take this tensioner bracket and see, we're pushing down, we're putting more pressure on that belt. So with a new belt, we need to use a torque wrench. And this is going to be set at 40 foot-pounds. Okay, so we'll put our torque wrench in here. And we'll also have our wrench ready to lock down our bolt here. Okay, so I don't want to get it too tight, I just want to get it close. Okay, so now we're going to pull up on this. See, 40 pounds isn't much, but that's the spec Bobcat wants to help break in this belt, and that'll still keep the proper tension. So 40 foot-pounds, and let's go ahead and lock down this retaining bolt. Okay, so now the bolt or the belt is installed and it's got the correct pre-tension on it. And what happens is the new belt stretches and breaks in. This tensioner is going to come down off of the bracket a little bit, and that'll give you the proper spring tension on the belt. Now, the mounting bolt, the tensioner mounting bolt and the retaining bolt are torqued to 80 foot-pounds. Lock that in. Alright, so now the belt is installed, pre-tension, mounting bolts are torqued. And we'll slide our belt cover back on. And one thing I would have mentioned, or should have mentioned, is that when you have the drive belt off, inspect your tensioner wheel bearings. You know, just grab your tensioner wheel here and see if you can rock it back and forth. Spin it a couple times, just make sure it spins freely and it's smooth. It's not uncommon for these tensioner wheel bearings to actually go bad, and that will actually cause premature failure on a drive belt. So when you have your belt off, inspect the bearings on the tensioner. And that's all there is to properly installing a drive belt on the 2014 plus Bobcat loaders with the Bobcat Doosan D24 and D34 engines. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.